Welcome back to the Unfortunate Diehards podcast. Hashtag number 28, Elias Lindholm. See, you thought I was going to go with Claude Giroux because I'm the number one fan of his fan club, but no. And then I thought about going Connor Brown, and then I thought about going past Timo Meier, but no. I really threw you guys for a loop, so you're welcome. So evidently, every person's going to have different, brackets. We're all picking, teams that probably won't win. You got a 1 in 16 chance. But I know me personally, I threw a couple bucks on Tampa Bay last year. I was closed, and where I'm going to go to find the best odds possible is BetStamp. So let's hear a little bit more about them.
Are you tired of searching through countless sports betting sites to find the best odds and deals? Look no further than BetStamp, the ultimate tool for sports bettors.
BetStamp is your all-in-one platform for sports betting with real-time odds and analysis from top sportsbooks in the industry. With BetStamp, you'll never miss a beat when it comes to finding the best deals and maximizing your winnings.
BetStamp also provides advanced features such as bankroll tracking and betting trends, so you can make informed decisions and stay ahead of the game. And with their user-friendly interface and personalized alerts, you'll always be in control of your bets and never miss out on a winning opportunity.
BetStamp allows you to follow other users to be instantly notified they are tracking their picks. Following winning users in the BetStamp pick marketplace is a great way to find new bets.
So why wait? Download BetStamp now using the code DIEHARDS and take your betting game to the next level. The odds are ever in your favor.
My name's Evan. I'm a Sens fan. Unfortunately, I cry. They don't play anymore.
Season's over. Go ahead, next one.
I'm Sufjan. I'm a Sens fan, yes.
Yes.
I'm a Caps fan. And you know what? We won a cup 4 years ago. It's fine.
And I'm Omar. I'm the Leafs fan.
And you won a cup like 50 years ago. So you're
exactly. Fine. Who cares whose lifetime it was in?
Yeah, fair enough. But welcome to our playoff episode. We're going to be going over our matchups today, our whole brackets, and then we're going to be talking about our first round matchups and how we think they're going to go. We may have picked people, but we can see them going either way or be close. So we'll talk about why we think someone may be swept. It'll go to 7 games, whatever. And yeah, so who wants to kick her off and go through their bracket first?
Well, let's start with the first series.
Let's just go through the
series by series. So we'll start with why don't we start with the Eastern Conference, and we'll start with the Toronto-Tampa series.
Oh, I wonder why.
Well, I mean,
it's the only series you could remember.
So
let's let Omar go first.
Yeah, sure. So for now, just say what you're saying, like what your prediction is. We'll go through that and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, so Toronto versus Tampa Bay, I have the Leafs winning in 6 games.
Okay, Evan?
I have it being a 7-game series and Toronto winning.
I have a 7-game series. And I also have Toronto winning.
Oh, it's a sweep for Toronto.
I don't want or necessarily think Toronto's going to win, but they have to win. They literally have to.
Exactly.
So this is the year they're going to win the first round and then lose in the second.
A little foreshadowing, fair enough. But my thing is, even if they make it past the first round, it's still going to end up on a lot of people being fired anyway. So at least give Toronto fans a little bit to be happy about,
All right, so what makes you say Toronto in the first round? Apart from they have to win and all that. Apart from the history of the Leafs in the playoffs, and apart from the history of now Tampa in the playoffs with 3 straight finals, this year specifically, what makes you say Toronto?
I think right now, just coming into this, it's like Tampa is it's they're how much hockey they've played over the last 4 or 5 years is kind of showing now, especially in the latter half of the season. Yeah, because they started off really well and then they trailed off like crazy. I think that experience is the only thing that can really help them in the series, and I don't think that's going to be enough at this point. I think that eventually the wheels were going to give out on them, and it's not like they haven't been successful, so it won't be a terrible loss for them if they don't make it past the first round here, because it's not like Toronto is a bad team or anything, right? So it's a really tough matchup for them in the first round, and I honestly would have given them a series against if they played some other team in the first round. I would have maybe given them getting past the first round, but I think the Leafs are going to be a little too tough to get past in this one.
Evan?
especially with the desperation factor for the Leafs at this point.
I was going to bring up the same point, being like Tampa has played so many more games than any other team, and a lot of that core has been on that team, so it's not like they have a ton of rejuvenated young players. Like, you still have essentially your entire top six, like at least probably 4 defensemen and the goalies that have played all those games. It's not like there's been a ton of turnover. Like, even Boston, they always go on playoff runs, but even their top 6 is like, DeBrusk is young. Zaka is like from out of nowhere. Krejci had a year off. Like, they had people that had rest. Yeah. So it's even different for them. Like, Allmark's a free agent, or was a free agent, sorry.
Whole decor.
So it doesn't make sense. Like, Tampa is technically the better team, in my opinion. But Toronto has to. They should have more rest. So, people are like, oh, they play different this year, blah, 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 blah. But they've had better seasons, I think. This wasn't their best season, points-wise. Yeah, wasn't this their not? Like, didn't last year, the year before?
Last year they had like 3 more points. 3 more.
Yeah, they had a better season last year. Not by a lot, but still. And, I think this team sure is built a little bit different, but I think they can maybe do a bit more damage. But being a bit more damage is, I think, getting to the second round.
I would say that.
All right, tell us why Austin Matthews is like the messiah.
Okay, so I agree with Tampa's played a lot of hockey, so they're tired and it's showing. It's I think that's pretty obvious. I think everyone can see that. The thing that I will say, which I don't know if it's a hot take or not. I don't think it's a hot take, but I mean, I think objectively, on paper, the Leafs have a better team this year. I think Tampa last year going into the playoffs, even though Leafs again were ahead in the standings last year, I think Tampa was clearly still the better team. This year going into the playoffs, on paper, I don't consider Tampa the better team. They lost Ryan McDonough. They lost a huge part of their playoff success, Andre Palat. I think they've lost some big pieces. And
lost 2 big pieces.
Yeah, and I think Hedman's really struggled this year, like a lot. Kucherov still Kucherov, point still point. Stamkos has had a decent year, nothing special, but he's had a decent year. I think Leafs forward group is better and deeper, especially with Ryan O'Reilly, now with Achari as well. I'll give Tampa the Vasilevsky factor. Yes, they're still better in goal by a lot, but I think on paper the Leafs have the better team this year, and I think it's just about time they do it.
Well, actually, technically, so who is home advantage? Toronto?
Yeah.
Okay. So because Vasilevsky never loses back-to-back games, if you... What's the math on this? If you have to win the first game or lose the first game? You have to win the first game.
We won the first game last year and we lost game 7.
No. I mean, like, if Vasilevsky were to only lose every other game,
you have to win the first one.
You'd have to win the first game.
Yeah.
Or else they're going to win.
Yeah.
Or else they are guaranteed to win. So, if Toronto loses the first game, changes everything, in my opinion. Therefore, you're done. You're done, bud.
This was Braden Point's best year. I didn't even realize he scored 50 goals.
51.
Yeah.
They showed the
Whoa, 51 Ryan Spooner?
Damn. They showed the 50 goal scorers, and I was like, Point? Like, the other ones, like, I mean, the 550 goal scorers, it hasn't happened for a while, but like the other guys I kind of like had there anyway. Point scored, he was like a 40-45, and then this year, I don't know, I didn't even realize he scored that many goals, but that was sick. I also didn't realize Kucherov was doing as well as he did. But that team only finished like 4 points ahead of Florida in the end. So like they fell off quite hard because like in November, December, they were kind of fighting for like the second place with Toronto, and then Toronto didn't even like play that much better than they were like the rest of the season. But Tampa just played kind of 500 level hockey. But the thing is, like, Vasilevsky coming into playoffs right now is as hot as he's been in like a couple of years. So that's the only thing that I could really see. Like, that's the major X factor in the series is goaltending, in my opinion, because I think both offenses are have enough firepower that like someone's going to show up, and it's just a matter of how long can Samsonov hold the fort down, and how much can Toronto get to Vasilevsky.
And we haven't talked about the Austin Matthews factor this year yet.
Yeah, because it hasn't really been a factor this
because two things. He's clearly been battling some kind of injury throughout the year.
Excuses.
And at the same time, you can just tell he didn't really care about his individual stats in the regular season. Like you could tell from the way they lost last year that this guy just like he hit 60 goals. He got his points and everything, and what mattered at the end? It didn't matter at all. Like no one cared about his 60 goals after they were out in the first round again. So I don't think Matthews, what we saw in the regular season of Matthews was like Matthews at his best. Yeah, he was battling some kind of injury apparently throughout the year,
allegedly.
And I don't think he had the same firepower I think he worked on some things in the season. Like I think he worked a bit on his defensive game. He worked a bit on his overall play. I think he was still looking good, but the puck not going in and stuff as much as it has, I think he's gearing up for the playoffs. So I'm expecting to see a big Austin Matthews factor in this year's playoffs. Okay. Whether we see it or not remains to be said.
Yeah,
but I'm expecting to see it.
The thing is, like, in terms of Sufi Analytics, aka me just being on Twitter.
Yeah.
He offensively, he hasn't really been
me being on Twitter.
This person, I'm giving you my source. It's just Twitter. And like guys like Dom and shit stuff. Ooh. But offensively, he hasn't been less effective. He just hasn't been able to finish as well as he has before. But defensively, he's actually
been
worse than it was last year. So maybe he wasn't trying. Injuries. He had the same injury last year, bro. He scored 60 goals. It was the same wrist thing or whatever, right? Like,
we're gonna see. I think we have a sleeping lion who's gonna wake up in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's gonna score 3 goals instead of 2.
But yeah, so anyway, I guess all three of us have the Leafs winning this one.
Yeah. And
2 in 7, 1 in 6.
We have
now I have tickets to game 7, so I picked up to win in 6. I'm really hoping it doesn't go to a 7 because I don't want to deal with that. But I've got tickets to game 7 if it does happen.
Where are you
going?
Don't
want tickets?
I mean, I want to go to a game.
Yeah, are you going alone?
No, I'm going with a friend.
Yeah, and then
remember when he asked us to go?
You want to pay $450 for the ticket?
For Leafs, no.
There you go.
I'd rather go to Edmonton.
You should come to Florida and see a game.
Yeah.
That'd be so exciting.
Okay, Series 2. So let's go. Let's move along with the Eastern Conference. Let's do the Boston Bruins and the Florida Panthers. And since Evan is in Florida, why don't we go with him first on this one?
I'm sure all the fans will come beating down your door.
Well, I was recently at a Florida Panthers game. It was 2-0 going into the third, ended being a 6-4 game. Pretty crazy. There was 8 goals in the third, evidently, and they did lose, but that team can score goals. And the fans, it's super interesting. So the fans down here, it's similar-ish to like football, I would believe. Like if you get like a touchdown, you're like back in it. Where like they were still down by like a goal, even multiple goals, but the fans when they scored, they were like, let's go. Where I find Canadian fans are like, oh yeah, we got one.
What was the attendance?
But they're like, pardon?
What was the attendance?
10K?
Yeah.
Maybe 11. But his last game of the season against the Hurricanes. There was a guy with a Jesse Puljujarvi Canes jersey there, though. I was like, probably the worst decision of any Canes jersey I could think of. But so I don't think Florida gets swept. I think they have enough forward depth and just scoring in general that they can win a game, maybe 2, probably just a game. So I'm going Boston in 5.
Same.
Boston in 5. Okay, so for me in this one, yeah, it's Boston all the way. I did Boston in 6. I feel like I'm kind of throwing Florida a bone with that one. I just thought they're going into the playoffs kind of hot. Like they're the one wild. Like I don't think the Islanders really deserve their wild card spot. I think Florida does, because they actually want to get in, and Islanders kind of backed into it, and Pittsburgh kind of just really shot the bed harder than they did, and that's the reason the Islanders are in. But like Florida actually played really well and won a bunch to get into the to the first wild card. So because of them, their desperation hockey in the last 3 weeks of the season, I feel like and I know this really doesn't matter when it comes to playoff time, but out of the 4 games they played Boston, they won half of them, they won 2 in the season. So because of that, I'm throwing Florida a bone and I'm giving them 6 games. But yeah, it's going to be Boston in 6.
A lot of discussion for 6 games, bro. Because here's the thing, right? If we just look at these 2 teams, we're offensively, Florida is deep, and that's their main X factor is offense, and that's pretty much it. But
I would say Florida has an underrated defense core. I don't think it's super
Horrible.
deep, but I think
horrible.
Well, Sufjan, shut up about your little Twitter analytics right now.
Oh.
Brandon Montour had a really good offensive season, and like I said, offense is going to be a big factor for them. Aaron Ekblad has had 60, 70 points before. Gustav Forsling, pretty good offensively. Gudis, absolute machine, playoff hockey kind of guy, got the playoff beard already going. But then because Boston has 36 NHL defensemen ready for the playoffs, probably doesn't really matter.
Bro, Boston's D-core is deepest in the league by a country mile. It's insane.
Bro, I'm just saying it's not Florida's
bad. Florida's defense is underrated offensively, I guess, but defensively they're bad.
But then also Florida going into the playoffs, their goalie that's playing the best right now is technically their 3rd string.
I'm so excited.
I mean, that itself is almost versatile.
It's a huge mountain to climb, and if I'm wrong, or if
it's almost like climbing Pride Rock.
Okay.
Anyone get that's a Lion King reference because
okay.
Thanks, guys. Get it because Panthers and Alex Lyon.
Great.
That was a good one, Evan. Underrated joke.
You don't even have to look at Twitter analytics.
I'm getting the
go to NHL.com, look at goals for, look at goals against. Boston wins this at 5. It's done.
All right. So we've got the Panthers, the Bruins in 5. So our 3rd series in the Eastern Conference, let's do the New Jersey Devils versus the New York Rangers. And we can start with Sufi on this one.
Devils in 7.
And your reasoning?
Well, no, we'll go through everyone.
Oh, Devils in 7. Okay. Evan, you?
Let me just check what I put. I don't remember.
Okay, while you're checking, I went New York Rangers in 7.
I have Rangers in 6.
Oh, Rangers in 6. All right.
This is
I think for me, I'll go first. Okay. So for me, I think they're both very good teams, evidently. They place decently well. But I think the experience and goaltending of the Rangers are what matters. I think both teams have phenomenal offenses. I think defensively, the Devils probably have a better defensive core, but I think the Rangers have a pretty a pretty solid core, I would say. But they have probably the best defenseman in the series, being Adam Fox, which is a big thing. So, but Igor Shesterkin is way better than Vanacek. It's not even close. Yeah. So for me, I think the experience of people like Panarin, who's been in the playoffs multiple years and over his career, Kane, who's been a guy who's been a playoff performer for years and years, Kreider, who's probably made the playoffs every single time the Rangers have made it over the past 10 years, whatever it is. I think that experience is the reason that they beat them. I think there will be close games. I could see a double overtime, triple overtime game going with these teams. Maybe even a couple times. So I don't think it's going to be a 6 and the games they won, the Devils maybe shouldn't have. I think there will be competitive games, but I think just the amount of probably playoff games played from big players on the Rangers is going to be the deciding factor.
I don't disagree with a lot of that. It's just for me, offensively, at 5-on-5, the Devils are much better. And the Raiders have had this issue for a couple of years now. And the offense that they did add in Kane and Tarasenko are both players that are excelling pretty much solely on power play in the last couple of years, especially this year for Kane. And defensively, they're both non-factors. And then defensively too, like Fox is the best defenseman in the series and probably like top 3 in the league. I think most of us would say, but the depth that the Devils have, I think overshadows the depth of the Rangers. And I think when it comes down to it, by game 7, we're going to have a lot more Devils players factoring in than Rangers players. I think you're going to need really good performances from like the stars of the Rangers. And yes, they've had the experience and stuff, but if anyone really falters, then I think that it's going to be too much for them to overcome. I think that the goaltending is fair. Like Shesterkin is insane. He hasn't been as good this year as he was last year. And
I mean, it's hard to be as good as he was last year.
Yeah. But I mean, like he's been like good this year. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been anywhere near last year. So if he turns it on the playoffs and then we go from there, but I don't know if that's going to be able to overshadow a lot of the inconsistencies that the Rangers have at 5-on-5, especially with the addition of Meyer, who I think in the playoffs is going to be like, he's kind of built for the playoffs, which we really haven't seen from him because he's been on bad San Jose teams for the last couple of years, but just the way he plays is built for playoffs. And I think that we're going to see like the start of kind of a little bit of a legacy forming for these young Devils players, because I think this is going to be a good team for a long time. So
I want the Devils to win. I just don't think they will. I think, sure, Timo Meier can be built for playoff hockey, but I just think any good playoff player, you need a little bit, like you need to dip your toes in. Like, no, very rarely is a young player you step in first year, even if you're a great player and you are hella flipping effective in the playoffs, and like one of your teams.
He's like 26.
No, I know, but he hasn't had that yet. Yeah, so my point being, like, I think if this could be a year where like the Devils get a taste, and then next year they come back even stronger. And I think the Rangers got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, being a power play team still, and they're a better team than they were last year. So
I agree with.
I just don't think experience is like the given, right? Like I don't.
Well, look at Omar. He's so.
I don't think
he's old as hell.
I don't think that like just because like you've done it before, that someone that's new to the game won't do it better than you the first time they try. Like I think that's that's definitely possible. Like I think that the Devils have enough surefire talent that it can translate right away in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to have any short of like motivation playing at New York, because I think that in itself is like a series that like has the most animosity in it just because of where they're located.
Okay, so I'll agree with some of what both of you said. I picked Rangers in 7 because, like Evan said, I think this is going to be a great learning and experience opportunity for the Devils. But I think the Rangers, they went to round 3 last year. They added a couple of pretty experienced playoff players. Shesterkin, even if he didn't have the same year as he did last year, he still went to round 3 last year. And he's seen round 1, round 2, round 3. Like I think he's ready for the playoffs. What I will say about the Devils is they remind me a little bit of like the Leafs from a few years ago, whereas like they play a very skill game, and that skill game is really nice, and they score a lot of goals. Like they're 5-on-5, they're better than the Rangers and stuff, but are they going to translate well to the physicality of the playoffs?
Isn't that the Rangers game though? The Rangers game is purely skill game. They score on the play.
Yeah, but they have like
power play.
Yeah, but I would say they have more of like they have more experience in the physical game of the playoffs still. Like
you're just saying the same thing that he said with experience though.
That's
like
the
thing is like in terms of just like heaviness or physicality, the Devils have more of that than the Rangers do by quite a bit. What kind of physical players can you name? Their entire third line on the Rangers is a bunch of children that are soft.
Barclay Goodrow, Stanley Cup champion. Tarasenko, Stanley Cup champion. Patrick Kane, Stanley Cup champion.
That was also
McLeod, Graves. They have Palat,
They have
but it's
Palat.
not really a tough
That was
guy.
a-
Meyer,
Graves is not tough.
Graves
yeah.
He's
is
just big.
but his whole thing is built on tough. What are you talking about? That's the only reason
I don't
he's
know.
freaking NHL.
He's just big.
Okay.
I don't know.
Ignore that.
Anyway,
He doesn't watch
but
Graves.
yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm going Rangers for that reason because they've got the
They
experience.
used to
I
have
think,
Ryan Reeves, so they're tough.
and I think they'll still play that game better than the Devils will. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I said 7 game
I guess
series,
we'll see.
but yeah, we'll see. But I'm gonna pick. I think the Devils are gonna be like Suvi said, they're gonna be a great team like from now on for a while, and they're gonna do really well. I just don't know if this is the year they're gonna do that well in the playoffs. Is what I'm saying.
I think this is also like a tough first round matchup for both teams. Like this is probably the worst thing that could have happened to either team. Honestly. So minus the Bruins, I guess. But
yeah, it's gonna be like they're both great teams, so this could go either way. I'm just giving the edge to the Rangers. Okay, our fourth matchup in the fourth matchup in the Eastern.
Oh,
We did Toronto, Tampa, Boston, Florida, and we just did New Jersey Rangers. So the
yeah,
fourth
that was
matchup
true.
is Carolina and the New York Islanders. Who wants to start with this one?
Everyone has written the Hurricanes.
I want Sufi too.
Everyone's written off the Canes for some reason. Like
I saw Sufi tweeting about this.
yeah, I don't know why. Like it's confusing. I think that might be the only reason that I'm even picking them. But
Yeah, I think me too.
yeah, because like everything is like it's confusing to me because like the Hurricanes are a better team. Like I don't think anyone can really argue that. It's more so the argument that people have are I guess I'm getting right into it that the Islanders are built for the playoffs in a sense without their best player though. That's my thing, right? So
Barzal's back.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, but
I mean, Barzal in or not, I think Sorokin's the best player.
Sure.
Oh, he's dumb.
But the Canes have the advantage and everything except for the net. So I'm going Canes in 7 because I do think the Islanders are going to steal some games from them with the Sorokin factor, but I don't think Anderson's a bad goalie. So
Anderson's okay. I'll do my part. Evan, you want to go next?
Well, I feel like I thought one of you were gonna have Islanders as an upset.
This
so
is the thing I was
pick the Canes.
This is what I'm telling you.
So like I don't know. I think I did pick the Canes in 7, I believe. Let me double check my little notes. Yeah, I did. I said Canes in 7, but I think this is another series like the Toronto Tampa one that like could go either way. But I think the Hurricanes are the better team.
I think
so. I don't know. My reasoning isn't like super solid for Hurricanes. Like they are the better team. Like it's not really an argument, like Sufi said. But the Islanders have been in the playoffs a lot. A lot of these players have playoff experience. They have the best goalie in the series, evidently,
arguably,
and yeah, and so it's like they can definitely like he could win the series.
But
so
we're talking about experience. He hasn't done that before, so we'll see what happens.
True.
Anderson's had a lot of experience losing in the first round with the Leafs.
Freddie Anderson is not a good playoff goalie. I don't care.
Yeah, but that's to what you say with your terrible defensively Toronto.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, so
right?
he left Toronto and where'd he go? He left Toronto. Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
The best defensive team in the league.
And what's the season in the playoffs? Second round.
He's been injured like the last couple of playoffs, so that's not really an argument.
Second round.
Now we're going to a which first of all, you said Anderson was the best goalie in the league at that time.
In the season, yes.
Yes, but still, he's not going to randomly become horrible in the playoffs with a better defensive team.
In the playoffs, he wasn't good.
With a better defensive team than Toronto ever has now or before. So Anderson even being above average, which I think he will be easily. Like, I don't know, he's got this weird vendetta against him because the Leafs suck in the playoffs. Even if he's just like above average, I think Carolina wins the series. And for me, I'm leaning closer to Carolina in 6 than Islanders in 7, if that makes sense. Because I think the offense is much deeper. Horvat has been horrible since he got to the Islanders, both defensively and offensively. Brock Nelson really picked it up, and that's what made up for the Barzal factor. So
you're saying it's more like not Bo Horvat, more like Bo Horrible?
Exactly. Thank you for that. I didn't know how to word it for better than what I did before. But I think that, I mean, the Islanders just play like the Islanders play the entire season, and that helps them in the playoffs. So I think everyone kind of had them as like a dark horse team if they did make it, including me. But I think that the Hurricanes are just too good to lose this series.
So Carolina in 6 is what I also had. I know a lot of people are picking the Islanders to upset in 7 games. I picked Carolina in 6. Yes, they're the better team. Just first of all, Islanders again, like I said, they like backed into this playoff spot. The other thing, Carolina is just a much better team. What I will say is if this goes to 7, or if Islanders do pull off an upset, it's going to be because of Freddie Anderson.
That's such a dumb reasoning, bro.
You're such a Leaf
Like it doesn't.
fanboy.
Such a Leafs homer, bro. Like
Like
That's
no
the only
one,
reason.
no one likes you.
Anderson was bad in the playoffs 3 years ago. He hasn't even gotten up.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing with
he wasn't even bad with Carolina.
No. Here's the thing with Anderson is that there was never really a middle ground with him in the playoffs. It was either, oh damn, he stole a game, or oh damn, he's the reason we lost the game.
That was 5 years ago.
So yeah, no, so what I'm saying is, I think that
You were in your 30s then.
So I'm saying that if this does end up being like a 7-gamer or an Isles upset, I think my prediction is the reason that happens is because Anderson shits the bed in a few games.
I know it's your opinion, but it's horrible, and I hate it. Yeah. So let's just move on to the Western Conference.
That was all the series, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I love Freddie Anderson.
I like him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, shut up.
He's a great
rated
goalie.
him for the last 30
I
seconds.
didn't berate him. He was the best goalie in the league on the Leafs.
The Leafs lost.
I'm criticizing his playoff.
Oh,
play.
my team sucks
Okay?
in the first round every year.
I'm
Let
criticizing
me
his
just
playoff.
blame it on
play.
Anderson.
I'm not blaming it on him.
Yeah,
I am saying he wasn't great in the playoffs, along with the rest of our team.
You know, I'm changing my prediction. Tampa in 5. Screw the Leafs.
Matthews gets hurt first game.
Yeah, Matthews scores 1 goal again in the whole series.
Watch me be right on this one. Imagine that. Okay, let's start with why don't we start with the Canadian team? Let's start with Edmonton versus LA. Who wants to go first on this one?
Edmonton.
You haven't gone first. Oh, Sophie, let him go first.
Okay, LA in 4. LA in 3. Here you go.
Everyone already heard you say Edmonton in 7. Yeah, I'm also going Edmonton in 7. They went to 7 last year. Actually, we're doing our reasoning later. Edmonton in 7. Go ahead, Evan.
I said Edmonton in 6.
Okay.
Damn, I did not think you were going to do
So
that.
am I starting with the reasonings?
Yeah, you may as well.
Sure. Okay, so rematch of last year. I think this goes to 7 again because I think both these teams did exactly what they needed to do at the deadline. Edmonton got Ekholm, like amazing trade, perhaps the best trade of the deadline for any team at this point with the way it's worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And LA.
Are you kidding me? The Sens.
Really?
What's a random move they did? I was trying to think of like a random.
Oh, Chikrin. But I guess he didn't.
No, I was trying to think of like a minor league deal that they did. I messed it up. Go ahead.
And I would say LA made like I know that quick trade was a little controversial because of all you traded him and he was like a little lifetime LA or whatever. But like I mean, come on, they got Korpisalo,
and he's not even gonna be their starter. So
yeah, so let's see. I mean, I think this goes to 7 again. I think both teams got better and they did exactly what they needed to do at the deadline. I don't think it's going to be easy for either team. I'm just using the McDavid Draisaitl factor that they pushed through in Game 7 like they did last year. That's pretty much it. And I think Ekholm makes a big impact, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I think the goaltending is pretty much a wash because like either LA goalie I don't think is going to be better than Skinner, and I think they're more likely to be worse than Skinner with how they've played this year. So. And then Ekholm has been the biggest revelation I've seen for a team ever. Like they haven't lost a game in regulation in a while. And like it's hard to say that he's the only reason. Like maybe the whole team is just playing astronomically better. Like apparently Darnell Nurse since Ekholm came has been ridiculously better because it's taken a lot of weight off his shoulders because he is not someone like someone like Thomas Chabot shouldn't have been playing as many minutes as he was. And like this, both these teams have improved since last year. I just think that the Oilers improved a little bit more, and they have 2 of the biggest X factors ever. So for me, it's not that hard of a thing to say Edmonton in 7, but I think that it's more likely to be less games than more.
All right. Evan?
I just don't like LA that much. Like, I think their team is fine. I think the whole Jonathan Quick thing is just gonna bite them in the butt. Like, I don't love their goaltending. Like, I think Edmonton's goaltending is much better. Like, I know it may not seem like that to everyone, but I would take, Campbell and Skinner any day over whoever they decide to throw in the net.
Not Campbell, not Campbell.
I think, yeah, LA is a good team, but I think, they have their old heads, and then they have like a couple young guys that like youngish guys that are pretty good, like Kempe and Fiala and stuff. And then they have a bunch of like NHL players, I'll call them. Like Kaliev's fine, like Matt Roy's fine. Like no one that really excites me. I'm like, oh, that guy's gonna really help them. And then Edmonton has like 2 top 5 players. They have, a defense core that's come together as of recently, and you want to be kind of rolling into the playoffs, and that's what they're doing. So I'm picking Edmonton, not because I love them that much. I like Calgary better, but
Great.
Edmonton is the better team.
The underrated thing about the Ekholm trade is how well Bouchard has been playing with him. Like he's looked like a completely different player, and I think he has like, I'm not going to try to guess the number. He's had a lot of points since that trade and being paired with him and stuff. So I think that just gives him a whole other look offensively as well. I think he's on that power play where they're just scoring every other power play. So
I actually think the reason he's doing so well is because his name's Evan, personally.
I think it's because his name isn't Thomas Chabot.
Okay. They're not even in the playoffs, man. Leave them alone now. All right.
My team sucks. It doesn't even matter.
The series, all right, so second series in the West. Let's talk about the Colorado.
Did you say yours? You did? I forget. Okay. Guys, we actually had to stop the recording and then move on, so that's why I was confused. Don't tell anyone. Anyways, next series.
All right, so I actually don't know. Did you know what he said? I didn't get it. Okay.
It was
Hopefully
audible.
someone understood me.
It was audible. I just didn't understand. So
yeah. The second series in the West. Then let's talk about the Colorado Avalanche,
Blackhawks,
and the Colorado Avalanche, and
the Arizona Coyotes.
The Colorado Avalanche and the Seattle Kraken. And we'll how about Sufi starts with this one?
Avs in 5.
Avs in 5. Okay, I have Colorado in 5 as well, actually.
Did you actually hear that the Seattle Kraken are going to be sold?
What?
Yeah, to Filma.
Nope, don't do it. Move on. No.
Yeah, me and Sufi both have Colorado in 5. How about you?
Oh, I think I have Colorado in more than 5.
6.
I have Colorado in 6.
All right. Reasoning, Sufi?
I don't really have much for this one, I'll be honest. Like, I think that for me, the Avs foreshadowing a bit aren't going to make it as far as before, and there's other reasons for that, but I'll get into that later when we talk more. But I think even without Landeskog, they're just a far too dominant team for Seattle, especially with how McKinnon and Rantanen have played this year, and Makar, even not being fully healthy, their whole decor is back. Like they're playing. Maybe they're not fully healthy, but they're playing. And I think even though they're a little bit banged up, they're still a much better decor than Seattle has. And then goaltending is the other big thing. I don't even whatever the Russian guy is like
Ovechkin?
Yeah, he's a good goalie. Georgiev is he had a good season this year, and you can chalk that up to being on Colorado all you want. Fair enough. He's still miles better than any of the goalies that Seattle can throw in. Joey Decord at this point. You could throw anyone in there.
Senators legend.
Exactly. And I think that's going to be the big downfall of Seattle. I think it's great that they made the playoffs. I think it's pretty sick that they made the playoffs. I was kind of hoping for like a Seattle-Vegas series. That would have been pretty cool, but I think this is going to start and end pretty quickly. I think I was pretty close to calling this a sweep, but I think the atmosphere at home for Seattle is going to be pretty sick. So I'll give them game 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think Colorado has the experience. Colorado. I mean, I have no objections to anything you said. Colorado.
Rare.
Colorado has the experience. They have the firepower. Even with Landeskog gone, they've got. I think they're better at every position.
They could have no experience, and I would have still said 5.
Yeah, it's true.
Honest.
Because it's just on paper anyway.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great story for Seattle in their second season to make the playoffs. I think they'll get some experience out of this. I think like you said, I think they'll take a game because Seattle's going to be hype. But yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward series for Colorado.
They need to figure out what's going on in net because everything else is like trending upwards at least, like offensively and defensively. Like they have players that are going to be getting better and are already good. It's just goaltending wise, there's nothing really there that's showing any promise. They have a bunch of guys that are 30 or older, or like close to 30 or older, and they're all below average goalies in the NHL. So it's just, I'm hoping they get someone at some point. It's kind of like Ottawa in that sense, where you're like, you hope that something gets figured out in net so that the team can fully improve.
Yeah, I actually think Seattle, because they have a lot of like decent players, will do pretty well against Colorado. I think Colorado could run over a lot of other teams more easily than Seattle in a weird way. I think Colorado's rolling right now, though, which doesn't bode well for Seattle, unfortunately. It would be really cool. Like, this is a series that I think, again, can be closer than maybe the games will show, whether they win 5-6, whatever. Like, I think Colorado, I could see them winning like 3-2, 4-2 games with an empty netter. Like, it's not going to be, like 5-1 games, in my opinion. I still think Seattle can play good hockey against them. Do I think Seattle's going to win the series, or they even really have much of a chance? No, but I think even if it went to 7, like, it wouldn't be the craziest thing, in my opinion.
Okay.
Fair enough. But I think it's going to be 5 games. The one they win is going to be 5-4, and the other games are going to be 4-0.
Oh, so you're actually saying like complete domination?
I think it's going to be domination because,
okay.
especially with the goaltending, I think like the offense doesn't have enough oomph.
Yeah,
they have 2 elite goal scorers on that team, though: Jared McCann and Daniel Sprong.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know how I feel about how each game is gonna go. I don't know if it's gonna be pure domination by Colorado or if there'll be a couple of close games in there. I definitely think 1 or 2 of them at least Colorado's gonna come out and do like 5-0 kind of thing, like Suki's saying. There's gonna be 1 or 2 of those. I do think. Is every game gonna be like that? I don't know. Let's see. But yeah,
I will not be watching the series because I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
We'll say I'll watch the series so I can sound like I know what I'm talking about.
This is one of those that's really low. I think it might be the lowest one on my interest list.
Because I like watching the Avs, or like at times, but it doesn't really pique my interest this one. So
okay, so our third series in the Western Conference. Let's talk about the Dallas Stars versus the Minnesota Wild. And why don't we let Evan?
Sorry? Let me just double check what I said. Okay, I said that the Dallas Stars will win in 7 games.
Okay,
I believe that they are. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. I'm going Dallas to win in 6 though.
I got Dallas in 7.
All right, Evan, go ahead. Continue what you were gonna say.
Bit of a disconnect.
Great, thank you. So I think Dallas just has more options. Like, I think Minnesota is such a bizarre team to me. Like, I don't know. Like, Frederick Goudreau does nothing for me. Like, they have one really exciting player, in my opinion. Anyways, then it's like, I don't know. They have the best goalie in the series. They have probably the best defenseman in the series. They have, you could argue the best forward, but definitely the best like top six.
Oh yeah, by far.
So I think, yeah, it'll be close. I think Minnesota always has close series in the playoffs. They're never like getting swept or anything. It's always like 6-7 games against St. Louis or Nashville or whoever.
Winnipeg.
But I think that this may be a series where I think when Minnesota wins close, but I could see Dallas winning some games like 6-1, 6-2, something like that. I just think Ottinger showed that he can be a really good goalie in the playoffs, and then you have big boys even on your third line. Like you have Seguin or Ben probably on your third line at some point. Like you're just able to roll lines and know that someone's going to be scoring any night.
I think Minnesota's kind of like a weird mix of Islanders and Seattle with a superstar forward. Like they got a Seattle offense where it's kind of just like even throughout, but like not great. But then they just have Kaprizov there, which is like, I guess Barzal, but he's like on a different level. And then defensively, their decor overall, I think, is better than Dallas's, but they don't have like their decor overall is better. But I think that there's more X factor potential with Dallas's defense, especially with Heiskanen. Like I have him potentially in my top 5 defensemen in the league. So I think that with Ottinger and the rest of that team being so deep.
Are you sharing spoilers of your next year's top players?
Yeah, which I'm going to try to do from England and watch hockey at the same time. So, and then the thing I could actually potentially see is Ottinger had like a coming out party last year where he didn't really play in the regular season that much. Like he played 30 games or whatever, 25, 30 games, and then was absolutely insane in the playoffs. And that was only in the first round, right? That was a first round series against Calgary where he went absolutely nuts, but they still lost. And I wouldn't be surprised that Gustafsson kind of has a similar series where it's like, because he's in the same age range, similar-ish team to what Dallas had last year, but like less firepower, I guess, in terms of offense. But defensively, he has enough support where he can potentially pop off. And I think that he can have a series that like shows that, okay, like Minnesota has a goalie that's going to help them in the future. I just don't think he's going to be able to get them over the hump now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm saying Dallas in 6 because I think their firepower is a lot more. I think they have the best goalie in the series. All the stuff you guys said. And Minnesota is good, so I think it's gonna be a good series. I was tempted to give this one going to 7, but I feel like Dallas is just that little bit better where I think they'll be able to finish it off in 6. But again, I don't know. It could go to 7, and it could be a Minnesota win. But yeah, I don't have like apart from that, I don't have the craziest thoughts on this series.
Minnesota's got a very good home atmosphere, if that means anything.
They do, and if Fleury can get hot again or something, I don't know.
He's not like unless Gustafsson plays bad, I don't think Fleury's going to start. Yeah. So like Gustafsson's been the much better goalie this season. They're not going to. I would hope they won't bench him in the first game for someone that hasn't really played good at all for the year, right? And Fleury wasn't really good in the last year's playoffs, so like he's more there for
support
and being like a smiley face. Like I think it's a good combination having your young goalie paired with Fleury.
Yeah, I mean the experience and stuff. It's good to have a kind of like a mentor, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that kicks off the final series in the West for the first round: the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Winnipeg Jets.
Is that the final series?
Am I forgetting one? Did I forget? No, I think we did 3 already, right? This is our 4th one.
Yeah. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Yep. So, Sufi, you want to go first on that one?
I have Winnipeg in 6.
Oh, you got Winnipeg in 6. Okay, I have Vegas in 6.
Yes, Sufjan. Jump on the Winnipeg train with me.
It's not going to last long, but Winnipeg in 6.
Okay. I have Vegas in 6. How about you, Evan?
I have Winnipeg in 7.
All right.
It'd be funny if you said Vegas in like 5, and I'd be like,
you're the only one that says Winnipeg. Okay, I mean, Sufi, why are you picking Winnipeg?
Here's my thing, right?
Omar, go first for once.
Yeah, Omar, you go.
Okay, me. All right. So here's what I'll say.
Okay, stop. Stop.
Okay, so this is what I think about the Winnipeg Jets.
Ugh.
I think that, in my opinion anyway, when the Winnipeg Jets are on their game, they play the best possession game out of any team in the league, and they play the best forecheck game out of any team in the league. That's my opinion. When they're on their game, I don't think there's a single team in the league that plays those two aspects of the game better than Winnipeg does.
Interesting.
In my opinion, because of the way I've seen them play. Like,
Okay.
I think when they're on their game, so
There's a butt coming because you picked Vegas.
yeah, so so that's what made me want to go Winnipeg's way. That if they turn it on in the playoffs and they play like how I think they can play, then I think there's no one they can't beat. But I'm gonna go Vegas because Winnipeg struggled like crazy in the last half of the season. I know they picked it up a little bit more at the end there. In the last few weeks, they picked it up a little bit, so at least that's a positive for them.
They picked up quite a bit in the end.
Yeah, they did pick it up in the end. So, and they have Hellebuck and stuff. And so, like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen that Winnipeg wins it. Like, I think they can, even though I picked Vegas. I would like this is it won't be an upset for me if Winnipeg wins it. But I'm picking Vegas because I just think they've had a great season. They've played very consistent all year. I think Eichel's hungry. I'm gonna go Vegas because of those. Yeah.
Okay. For me, the offenses kind of.
I love how we start everything off for me.
Yeah, because we have to make sure that it's not like. You know what? No, factually, Winnipeg's offense and Vegas's offense are similar in the amount they score. Probably, I think that Winnipeg has more X factor players offensively, but I think that depth wise they're like close. Defensively, for me, like in terms of their decors, they're kind of a wash because Theodore is the best defenseman in the series, but after that, it doesn't really pique my interest all that much. Vegas or Winnipeg, I think they have Morrissey, and then after that, it's but Morrissey, with the season he's had, it's kind of shown that he can like hang with some of the top defensemen in the league. Thing that this comes down to me is that Hellebuck is a Vezina candidate this year, I think, anyway. And in the last in the last month, I think it was, he didn't drop a game in regulation, or he won like 8 straight starts or something, and he started pretty much every one of those games. I think the only way that they don't win this is if we see Hellebuck fatigue, but he's shown that he can play that many games. But he is so much better than Logan Thompson, especially with how Logan Thompson has played in the last like 4 months of the season. Is Logan Thompson going to start? I don't know. If Jonathan Quick starts, this might be a 5-game series. So for me, goaltending is the biggest factor here. Everything else for me is kind of close. Eichel hasn't really been at a level that he was in his pre-back injury Buffalo days for me to say that he's going to be like the major superstar that he was heading towards in the series, because he hasn't really shown that in the last year. So, and I understand, I'm not giving any like hate towards him. I think that the injury probably hurt him a lot, like development wise, and that's why he's like this, and it kind of stagnated him a little bit. But there isn't, like, for me, he's not like better than Scheifele, if I'm being completely honest right now. Right? Like, and then I think that the other players, Winnipeg adds up a little more. Like, I think Kyle Connor is potentially the best offensive player in this series. So for me, that gives Winnipeg the advantage, and I think they end up taking this. And also, best home barn for playoffs.
Whiteout.
There are 15,000 people, and it's just loud.
That would be a fun game.
There's no way that isn't already sold out.
To.
You're
That would
forgetting
be a fun
also,
game.
but-
We should go to that.
To be forgetting about the Phil Kessel factor.
Oh, wow. I totally forgot he was on that team.
All right, Evan, what do you think?
Doesn't really do much for me, but
Yeah.
I love him.
I just like Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to pick them to go to like the final or something. So fair enough.
All right, you just like Winnipeg.
Are you going to add anything, or are we leave it at that? Do you agree with me in how
I'm
I
going to
assess?
leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay, leaving it at that. Okay,
Fine. Fine.
Because for the
My
rest of
buck,
this, I really want a discussion. Like we just need to
that
see.
Hellebuck, better goalie. Offenses, close. Defense, close. Goalie, win series.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's basically what I said.
that's pretty. Yeah, you just summed it up. You just summed it up. Okay, so those are our first.
Why say many words when few words do trick?
Kevin from The Office. I love
Mhm.
that. Okay,
A reference we all got.
yes. Okay, so those were our first round series previews and picks. We'll be revisiting as each round goes. We'll do our previews for each round. But what we'll do now, we obviously we each filled out a bracket for from now until the till our cup winner. So we don't need to give reasons for this part
Yeah.
of it, but let's just talk about from the first round now our picks moving forward. Who do we think is going all the way and what our series?
Let's just react in facial expressions and
So-
gasps.
Okay, we'll go back to the Eastern Conference and we'll then do Toronto versus Boston round 2. So why don't we start with Sufi? What's your
Wait, I mean, we didn't really pick. So wait, what? Toronto, Boston? That's what I had.
round 2? Yeah,
Okay, Boston.
Boston. And how many games?
We're not doing games for this.
Fine, okay.
Boston.
I'll take Toronto. Evan.
Boston.
All right. And then we're gonna have New York Rangers because that. Well, I guess
Just say for you.
yeah. So for me, it was the Rangers versus the Hurricanes in round 2, and I'm gonna pick Rangers to win that series.
Okay, and Evan, you had the same.
I'm gonna pick the Rangers to also win that series.
Okay.
Okay,
And then for Sufi, it was
Devils, Hurricanes.
Devils, Hurricanes. Yeah.
I have Devils.
Okay. So then we go to round 3. For me, it would be Rangers versus Leafs. Yes, I have the Leafs. Evan.
That might be their easiest matchup.
Yeah.
I said Boston over the Rangers.
Boston over the Rangers, and Sufi would have Boston versus Devils.
I got the Devils over Boston.
Okay, so we have our Eastern done then, and then in the West,
That's gonna be horribly wrong, or I'm gonna look freaking insane.
so in the West, the first series.
Rat Pack's gonna be your best friend.
Yeah, Brian message him, put it in.
So for the West, the first series we're all the same on that. It's Colorado Dallas round 2. I'm gonna go Colorado.
I got Dallas.
And Evan.
I honestly don't remember what I put in my goofy little bracket. Does it even matter what I put in my bracket? I'm just gonna go off vibes. Dallas.
Dallas. Okay. And then we've got a Edmonton and Vegas.
For you.
For me, sorry, yes. Edmonton, Vegas. For me, I'm going Edmonton, and then it would be Edmonton, Winnipeg for the two of you.
Edmonton for me.
Winnipeg.
Oh god.
Oh, yeah, you're actually going Winnipeg.
I
Okay.
think Devils go to the final, so I can't even say anything.
Okay, and then the third round would then be for me and Suki.
No,
Edmonton.
just for you.
Oh, sorry, for me it would be Edmonton, Colorado. Yeah, because I picked so Edmonton,
Yeah.
Colorado, and again I have Edmonton. Suki
I have Edmonton, Dallas. I went Edmonton.
and Evan.
I have Winnipeg
Winnipeg,
and Dallas, and I picked Winnipeg.
My god.
All right. Okay, so for me,
No, okay, I'm getting LA Kings vibes from like 20 whatever.
You said that about Calgary. They didn't even make the playoffs. You can't use the same.
Yeah, but that was like 3 weeks. That was 3 weeks ago. I said if they squeaked into the playoffs, I could see them
You should
doing
have said that
that.
about Winnipeg too. You can't
Guess
use
who was that second wild card, baby? Guess who was the second wild card, baby?
Okay, so then for the finals, I have the all Canadian matchup: Toronto, Edmonton, and I'm picking Toronto to be the cup winners.
Nah. Ooh,
Sufi.
wow. Oh no, I'm so surprised.
Wow, shocker!
Sufi has Edmonton versus New Jersey.
I picked Edmonton. Obviously,
Edmonton,
That was
and Evan has Winnipeg versus Boston.
this guy.
I had Boston originally, and then I said that's boring. So I said the Winnipeg Jets are going to win a Stanley Cup.
Winnipeg Jets. Like in
Crazier things have happened, I guess.
they have.
If
like,
this happens, I'm going to kiss Omar live on video for you guys.
okay.
So clearly he doesn't think it's gonna happen.
I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does,
I went with what I
just
actually think is
kidding.
gonna happen.
That's
Somehow,
I'm not gonna lie.
most likely.
I'm not gonna lie.
if you were a
Wait, say that again.
Because you know what I said? You know what I've always said? I've always said if Leafs win round one, they're going all the way. Because they'll go over the mental barrier and then they'll just do it. So
that would assume that they're better than every other team, which they're not.
It doesn't matter. In my opinion, the only one they're not better than is Boston. So they got to slay one dragon on the way. And then they're better than New York.
I guess that was Washington with Tampa and Pittsburgh, but fair. The thing is, we've all picked teams that are like probably not the favorite to win the cup.
But it never happens like that.
Exactly. So I think that we all picked one that like we actually think could happen. I think the Leafs winning the cup is actually more outrageous than either mine or Evan's picks. I think the Leafs winning is more outrageous than me picking the Devils to make the finals, to be completely honest. Because the Devils, if they beat New York, they're not playing Boston next series. And they also don't have the history of losing. So
no, Devils definitely, like, if they win, they have the easier route to the final.
I think like the reason that I have 3 7-game series in the East is because I think that the East is like close. Like there's a lot of flip-flopping that could happen either way. So I think that we're kind of just taking a chance here, and I just see the Devils popping off. So I'm going with them.
All right. So those are our. Sorry,
I was just gonna say. I think. I don't know. I don't know what it is about those like mid to western Canadian teams that I love, being Calgary, Winnipeg. I just think they both have solid teams, like deep teams at almost every, well, maybe not every position deep wise, but like, or they have a superstar or close to it at every position. And those are teams that I think like that are like pretty decently well coached as well. And I think those teams are the ones that always surprise you in the playoffs. Like, I personally would be surprised if Sufi's bracket came to fruition, but I'm sure he would say the same for me.
I'd say
just because I think
I'd say the same for all of us.
Yeah.
Like
and so yeah. And so I think I just think the Jets have a team that I would want in like as a fan, or if I was a general manager, built similarly in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That would probably be me with Edmonton, because I would just be like, give me McDavid. So, and then have a guy that just wins you games.
Although everyone wants to say that's the Islanders.
Screw the Islanders. I'm so happy that no one had them passing the first round.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're a bit too hyped for a team that squeezed into the playoffs.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I can, like, it's not like it's outrageous if they win. It's just the fact that every single person is like, well, minus us, is picking the Islanders is insane.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair to the people who are picking the Islanders, Carolina still has to prove themselves in the playoffs too, right? Like, they haven't done it.
They won in 06.
Yeah, 06. You know, like, they're also like, they haven't gotten over that second round hump kind of thing. Even though
the Islanders prove themselves.
Did Islanders make the conference finals a few years back? Like
they made it twice in a row.
Yeah, right. Like 2019, I think they made it, and 2018.
Was that the Tampa? Was that the COVID year? Tampa?
I think that year and the next year they both.
It was 2019. I remember because there was that one, everyone was like, because that was the first year Tavares was with the Leafs, and then Islanders made round 3, and Leafs were out in round 1 against Boston, so it was like a big deal. And like, Islanders waited to round 3 and Leafs were out round 1. So I remember 2019 they made it to round 3. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
All right.
It's so funny that Tavares is going to retire, not being past the first round with the Leafs.
That's insane.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this year. All right, guys. So those are our first round playoff previews and our entire playoff brackets, and let's see how things go.